Hi. Welcome back. It's been a while. This is fun. I'm so happy to be back. We did Diddy last night. Lost my breath. We did Diddy last night. And we're jumping straight back into OJ. Got my book. Got my videos. Happy you guys are here. Happy Friday, by the way. Hi, Pete. I'm sure they'll come over and hang with us. With my barrettes, I've messed them up. Sorry. I don't want to be late. So I'm here with messy barrettes. All right. So, of course, we've been going through this book. Those of you who are just joining on this episode, live or replay, welcome. Hit the like button, thumbs up, subscribe. We've been going chapter by chapter. We have a whole playlist you can go through, literally reading. Hi, Pete. Come here. Literally reading. If he stays noisy, I will put him away. The book, which was a banned book for 12 years, knocked off the bookshelves, and seeing what we think for ourselves from the text and from the interview. That was a package deal on this book, right? It was a book and an interview. So we'll go over that again really quick. It was a Fox exec who had this idea and was like, he needs money. He's broke. Let's offer him $1 million, but he has to do both a book from a first-person perspective, a confession, and he has to do a interview. And then he said, no way. And then they kind of negotiated into it would be hypothetical. So here we go. We are looking at both the book and the actual interview that was released 12 years after it was done. So you can see his eyes, you can hear his voice, we can all see it together. We'll review all this stuff we may or may not have seen 26 years ago. Someone corrected me. Thank you, guys. One of the things that we talked about from day one, I'm getting the file, was how this impacted pop culture, right? Everybody was just like, it's like everybody's reacting to Diddy right now. It's kind of the same, except imagine if he was like bigger in pop culture. So it was really, at the time, just like everybody drop everything. Literally it broke into newsreels and things like that. So it was so part of pop culture that late night, every night was like doing new skits and things like that on it. So we have made a tradition of starting our OJ episodes with the dancing Beatos. And I'm not making an exception. We're doing that tonight. Okay. I just want to give people a few minutes to get in the room. We're only 4 minutes in after starting.
Counselors, it wasn't easy, but after a 3-month search and
putting kind of onto the system the interview that we're going to watch. So it's just taking a second to load it up. Good morning. You must be down under or in the UK. Good morning, Adang Saputra. I don't want to. Sorry if I got your name right. Good morning. Welcome. Thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you for joining us. Joe Tipton says, down with barrette, free the hair, down with the barrette. Yeah, who needs those things anyway? Okay, I'm so happy you're here, Joe. You must have The trip must have gone well. I heard you guys had a day trip. Absolutely awesome. Maybe India. Maybe Adang is from India. I don't know. We're so glad you're here, though. Okay, so let's see how this video file is going. So let's start. Guys, I see if people are still coming into the room. Welcome. Let's start with your favorite, or at least your most favorite is a strange word unless you're a true crime buff. But your most vivid memory of the OJ trial. Everybody has their first time they got introduced to this trial. You're here for a reason. This came into your head. So what's your most, still going, what's your most vivid memory of the OJ trial? Okay, so I think we're gonna, I don't know why it's taking so long. It's really weird that it's like needing to load. It's supposed to be immediate. I'm sorry, guys. Could be because I have like 3 versions going now. Stop too. Okay, so meanwhile, let's talk about some of the, while it's loading, the most popular alternate theories to OJ being guilty. We have watched reconstructions. If you haven't seen those, definitely join us now and favorite this so you can go back and watch our entire playlist. We have crime scene reconstructions. We have interviews from OJ at the time. We have the footage of him driving. We have the calls from his buddy who was in the, hey guys, who was in the car with him. We have a lot of stuff. So we've talked about how it could very well, in the book, let's not forget, all you OGs, we've been reading the actual physical book, okay, written up and highlighted with all these notes. Edie, guys, I'm going to have to put you in the other room. You're going to get evicted. Hey, them's the breaks. Okay, so, you know, old school, this copy, all these notes, everything, I'm going to read to you. Just read with you. We're going to do it till we drop. Okay? Pull up a chair, get a cup of tea. I'm going to turn mine on in a minute. And that's what we'll do. Duh. Okay, we'll just read while this thing loads. We don't want to watch it till it reads anyway. Okay, so get comfy. We had been in the middle of chapter 6. I'm not exactly sure where, so I'm going to pick up. Probably I was falling asleep at the end. So this is the night in question. And we're just going to jump right back in on the 10th page. Boom. Okay, here we go. Dang, I don't think we can get through the whole chapter in one night. That's the thing. All right, we're going to start with Charlie arriving. We're just going to go to the front of the chapter. The night in question. Okay. The night in question. And I wrote, this supports the claims that he was in a dark mood at the recital. Okay. Another thing I want to ask you guys to just think about as we go is I have heard some really interesting alternate theories. Some of the top alternate theory I have heard so far is that that the son, the oldest son, maybe is the one who did this, and OJ was covering. So put in the chat while it loads up. I can't see your messages, so I wouldn't be reading. But put in the chat your opinion on that. Okay. I was in a lousy mood after the recital. I was exhausted and not looking forward to getting on another plane. But most of all, I was upset about my brief conversation with Ron Fishman. Didn't like what Ron had said about Nicole and the girls. We don't know the half of it. The half I did know about was bad enough, but Ron seemed to think that it was worse than either of us imagined. I also thought back to my conversation with Cora, Ron's wife, and felt another twinge of guilt. I'd pretty much given up on Nicole, but she was still the mother of my kids. I had to do something, if not for her, for them. To me, this is very cheesy, and I probably was saying this the last time too, like in disingenuous feel, like he's just telling you what he thinks you want to hear. Be the good guy. For a few moments sitting there in my living room, I wondered if I should threaten to fight her for custody. The idea was not to take the kids away from her. I knew that would destroy her, but to shake her up so badly that she'd finally start trying to get her shit together. The girl was an accident waiting to happen. Okay. The girl was an accident waiting to happen. This is page 136 on the bottom. That is a brazen thing to say when you are the accident and you are the one waiting to happen. Pretty brazen. And if he's not the one, what a cold thing to say about your former, ex-wife. You're a widower, right? So don't forget, it's talking about the woman he later claims was in love. So I was thinking about this possibility, and Cato showed up. He was carrying a towel and a magazine and asked if he could use the jacuzzi. Sure, I said. How was the recital? Fine. Did you talk to Nicole? I went out of my way not to talk to her. I said, You look bummed, man. What happened? Nothing, I said. This shit's endless. You should have seen the skirt she was wearing. Thinks she's still a teenager. Can you just hear OJ saying this? You don't have to imagine it. You're going to hear him saying it in the interview. Can I ask you something? Cato said. Why is Nicole so mad at me? I didn't want to get into it. All that business about Cato living rent-free without doing anything to earn it. So I told him not to worry. You know how she is. I said, she puts her anger and craziness on everyone else. Nice guy, right? So we see this catty, this mean girl thing he's doing, not coming out with the truth, not playing a role, not pulling up a piece, but you know how she is. She's crazy. I noticed the magazine in his hand. It was the current issue of Playboy commentary. So he's describing a kind of a sleazy dude while he's describing himself talking shit about his ex-wife to the sleazy dude who's living in his house for no other reason, I believe, than to annoy the shit out of Nicole. Because she couldn't stand it. She wanted to kick him out. He was not paying her. He wasn't doing the job he said he was going to do, which was babysitting. And I don't know why you hired this dude to babysit. Anyway, I don't know. But her problem was that he was the kind of guy that walked around with a Playboy and a jacuzzi towel, and OJ enabled him because it annoyed Nicole. Okay. Back we go. He went off to get into the jacuzzi, and I found myself thinking about a Raiders cheerleader I'd known some years back. She looked a little like the girl in the Playboy. He looked closely at it, didn't he? I dug up her number and called. And when her machine picked up, I left a message. Hey, it's me, OJ. I wanted to see how you were doing and to tell you that I'm a free man. A totally free man. Call me. So, guys, he leaves this message the night Nicole died. The night Nicole died, he leaves that message. Now, was that to set up an alibi? We've seen others do it. We've seen Chris Watts do it. Chris Watts called his own victim and said, hey, honey, how are you? Left a voicemail saying, why would I call her if I didn't? Right, to set up. I hung up and realized that I really did feel kind of free. But the feeling only lasted a few minutes. I found myself thinking about Nicole again, and then about Paula. I was pissed at Nicole, and Paula was pissed at me because of Nicole. Not because of his own decisions, right? But because of Nicole. Removing of accountability. Maybe I should have taken Paula to the reception. There we go. He's thinking about what he could have done. That's better. Right? I had tried to be respectful of Nicole and the Browns. And once again, I got bit in the ass for my efforts. I went into my home office and started getting some of my things together for the trip. I noticed I only had $100 bills, and I knew I'd need a few fives for the airport's sky caps. So I went out to see if Cato had any change. He'd already gotten done with the jacuzzi, which he'd left running. And I turned it off and went by the guest house. Cato, man, please try to remember to turn the jacuzzi off when you get out. Did I forget to turn it on? He asked. Man, I used to wonder if the guy was all there. Yeah, Cato, you forgot to turn it on. I'm sorry. I held out a C note and asked if he could break it, but all he had was 20s. I borrowed one and told him I'd pay him back. I need it, I said. I just realized I haven't eaten anything, and I'm going to run over to McDonald's. So a later note is that this bodyguard who drove around with him and another guy who he was hired to clean up his reputation after the trial. All these guys swear that OJ never ate McDonald's, didn't know it was on their menu or anything like that. So I don't know what that means to you, but some information. We're at 62% complete on this interview. Okay. And it was downloaded to my computer. It's making me, I think it's because I have local recordings enabled just in case there's a glitch. So there's a slight delay. Anyway, it's part of my system, but it makes me upload it to StreamYard, which I use. So we're doing it. Okay. Welcome, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. We're reading. We're on page 118 of chapter 6. Sure, I said, but hurry up. I'm pressed for time. We took the Bentley and ordered at the drive-thru. I ate my burger on the ride back. Cato saved his for later. I was busy eating, so I didn't talk much. And I found myself thinking back to the recital and how cute Sydney had looked on stage, doing her little dance number. It put me in a dark mood. Thinking about how cute his little daughter looked put him in a dark mood. That's a unique reaction, but I don't know. Okay, I kind of understand that that's, in custody situations that it can be the reaction, right? But that they didn't really have a custody battle. So in this context, I don't know why it put him in a dark mood. Okay. The last few times I'd called Nicole to try to get the kids, which I'd often did on the spur of the moment, she'd gone out of her way to make it hard for me. That's okay. That's his opinion, but he just told you he did it at the spur of the moment. So which seems to me like he expected her to be available at all times and not make plans and not have anything going on and drop them if he decided to come get the kids. That would be maybe a difficult situation. So protesting about that or saying, hey, make plans doesn't seem unreasonable. So it sounds like he just antagonizes her, right? My opinion throughout this book is that he antagonizes the shit out of her, and probably the same way in the other direction. Okay, she always found some reason not to let me take them. The kids are tired. They've just eaten. They've had enough excitement for one day. I couldn't understand it. She didn't even want me to see my own kids. It's like she was making everything as difficult as possible for me. It's true that what they say about never really knowing another person. Nicole wasn't even Nicole anymore. She was a complete stranger to me. Depersonalization, right? I finished the burger and felt lousy. Who wouldn't after eating McDonald's? It had gone down wrong. When we got back to the house, I went inside and started packing, laying some of my things out on the bed. Then I went to the garage to get my golf clubs. There were a few dead balls in the bag. Dead balls, like his verbiage. So I set them on the driveway and chipped them into the neighbor's yard. I couldn't seem to stop thinking about Nicole, though. Usually when I pick up a golf club, the world disappears. But that's one of the things I like about the sport. This time I couldn't get her out of my head. I remember thinking, this woman is going to be the death of me. Or vice versa. It was probably around 9:30 by then. Okay, so he's putting himself in the timeline. For when did the deaths occur? About 10. Right? He's placing himself on the timeline. And we've been through this before, so I'm just summarizing it. Kind of going quickly through this part because we got all the way up to the middle of the scene. Okay, so I'm just going to read through with some breaks. I tried to minimize my comments. We're at 81% because we still have to watch this part. We have yet to watch this last part because we haven't read this last part. It's probably around 9:30. I figured Nicole and the kids and the Browns had finished eating dinner and had gone their separate ways. As I found out later, they'd eaten at Mezzaluna, an Italian place on San Vicente Boulevard in the heart of Brentwood. Nicole's mother, Judy, had left her glasses at the restaurant, and she'd called Nicole, who called the restaurant, and learned that they'd found the glasses. Nicole was told that Ron Goldman had just finished his shift waiting tables and that he would be happy to drop them at the Bundy condo when he was done. I knew none of this, of course. None of this had anything to do with my life. Not then, anyway. So he had just called the cheerleader and told her he was a free man. So what business is it of his who was at Nicole's house? I would say exactly none. Okay, I just said I wasn't going to comment. I'm sorry. I set the golf stuff aside and fished out my cell phone and called Paula from the driveway. Either she wasn't home or she wasn't answering. I think it was the latter. I'd called her several times that day to apologize for not taking her to the recital, and it looked like she was determined to punish me. Hell, for I knew she was already thinking about moving on. If that was actually the case, I had Nicole to thank for it. The lesson here was simple. It doesn't always pay to do the right thing, especially if you're doing it for the people who don't give a fuck about you. True. Suddenly, I felt exhausted. I was getting old. I could hardly walk anymore. Poor old Jim. I'd been told recently that I would eventually have to have both knees rebuilt. Plus, the arthritis was killing me. I was on medication, but there were days when my hands hurt so much I couldn't pick up a fucking spoon. I parked my ass on the low wall near the front door, feeling whipped. I was trying to figure out how it had come to this. I'd been somebody once. I'd had my glory days on the playing field, a number of high-paying corporate gigs, many years as a football analyst, and even something of a career as a Hollywood actor. But it wasn't over, not by a long shot. Everything seemed more difficult now, though. It was a little like that business in Alice in Wonderland, where she has to run twice as fast to stay in place. But hey, if that's what it took, that's what I'd do. You don't get anywhere in this crazy world unless you fight for it, and I was willing to fight for it. Still, it seemed like every day it took a little more energy, and Nicole was sapping a lot of my goddamn energy. Cool, welcome. Lost my spot. Okay. That got me thinking about family, the meaning of family, especially my own family. My mother and father separated when I was, okay, I'm going to skip the mother and father part unless you guys want me not to. I'm at 98%, by the way, so I want to get to the meat here because we have gone over
Nicole, now 35 years old.
Okay, you see what we're going to watch. Teaser. So basically the recap here is that he tells you his dad was the physical enforcer, and that he would sometimes quote whoop his ass, right? But when he was 16, or 18, 16 or 18, 16, he stood up to his dad and said, "You're not going to whoop me. It's not happening." And they had an understanding that he was bigger than his dad. That's a coming of age moment that I think is shared by many boys who have, over aggressive fathers, even if they're doing their best, and who have had that moment. And that's interesting. It's kind of a pinnacle moment, and it has nothing to do with, what happened to Nicole, but he is kind of telling you that he was a super stubborn man. And he never talked to his dad again for 20 years. And then one day at dinner, he's just like, pass the gravy. So that's what we're talking about here. Okay, let's see the comments that we missed. Guys, oh, I'm so happy you're here. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. Joe Tipton's asking our favorite serial killer. Okay, that is totally different. Okay, no. Dexter. All right. Funny. The king of tangents. Mama, welcome. Welcome back. Fancy meeting you here. Oh, you guys are funny. I hope you had a good trip. Okay. The oldest daughter, you think that's hogwash. Yeah, Arnell is the oldest daughter, but the oldest son is Jason. So I have a friend's colleague who I've invited on the show. Maybe he'll come on and do a podcast with me. Then I want to say London right now. But he has this very developed theory, and it's very integrated because he's like an engineer. So it's very interesting. The way he's kind of thought through the pieces. And that's about Jason. This is that theory. So maybe we'll get him on. Pussycat, hello. Welcome. He's a ball buster. You're the worst. What? Who's the worst? Pussycat. How dare Kato? Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, responding to that. Okay. Pussycat Joe's right. He's reading. Right. Okay. Follow. Filling his in. Okay. So Mama says Janet would put him in a dark mood because he M-worded her mother. And he'd have to own up to it at some point in his life. Yeah. Yeah. But he's saying he's thinking about this before the big M, which doesn't add up. His timeline doesn't add up. Planned. Yeah. Selfish. Yeah. Mama. He realized that he took his daughter's mother away. Yeah. So maybe in writing this book, he's having this thought and inserting it in the wrong place in the timeline. Or maybe he just moved it in the timeline to where he thought it worked. Okay? That is what really good liars do, is take 99% truth and just move it where it's more convenient. Right? So that would put him in a dark mood, right? The mother's gone. Yeah. Okay. He's a very selfish man. And now, although it's an overused term, now I think society would probably say, because of our shadow awareness, we'd probably say narcissist if he came into the public sphere right now, especially with this persona, the way he carries himself, the way he talks and references loved ones and other people. I think people would be more aware of that now than they were then. Welcome, guys. It's so fun. I get more people in late at night, but the time zone, I don't know. Maybe it's a lot of people, the longer we go, the later we go, the more the room fills with non-subscribers, people I don't know. We start with subscribers only. It's fun. So guys, subscribe, hit like. Okay, Pussycat, you assume she married for money. Okay, so Pussycat says don't marry for money. Yes, he was very charismatic. There's an entire chapter where he goes over their love affair, and she was 18, guys. Okay, just barely 19, maybe, when she met him, and he was one of the most popular dream bachelors, and he wasn't even a bachelor. He was married, and he's hot off the scene. And he's like, nobody knows yet, but my marriage is over. Go out with me, and you guys. He went to the restaurant where she worked, pulled aside the owner, and asked the owner to have her go out with him. So, okay, her boss is telling her to go out with the guy. You know, that's pretty strong encouragement. He did spoil her with money, yeah. And at one point she says, when she actually ends it, she tells somebody, I told him I can't be bought. Very influenced. Yes. Oh my gosh. We call it grooming these days. Always curious. Welcome, curious. Yes. Believe OJ did it. If you believe that now, just wait till we watch this video, because holy Hamilton. Oh my goodness. Like, I can't even tell you where his place goes in his mind. You will see it with your own eyes. What that evidence means to you. The place, what you see behind his eyes. Yeah, I can't really describe that for you. Yeah, you also get stuck in a lifestyle. Remember, she had money problems after the divorce. So get stuck in this lifestyle. It's like, I know I have kids. How do I get out of this and maintain this life? I think is part of what her problem was. Mama says, that's what I was thinking about money. Also, he was slowly giving himself permission over time to act against her more forcefully. Yes, I can't say that last word. YouTube is very controlling about words. Hi, YouTube. Love you. Thanks for promoting. So, yeah. Welcome back. Good to see you, Gita, of course. Always love it. Okay, guys, like and subscribe if you're here. We're going to go back to the reading. Okay. So, I shut my eyes and told myself to stop thinking about her. I looked at my watch. It was 10:03. I just marked himself in time again. 10:03. This is key, right? What's happening? We know the time he was tripping balls because the neighbor said something about it, right? We know that one of the neighbors was the guy who ended up ghostwriting this book. I shut my eyes and told myself to stop thinking about her. I looked at my watch. It was 10:03. I needed a shower and I had to finish packing. As I got to my feet, an unfamiliar car slowed near my gate, then pulled and parked a short way down across the street. The driver got out and waved from the distance. And at first, I couldn't tell who it was. When he came closer, I saw it was Charlie. I'd met him some months earlier at a dinner with mutual friends, and I'd seen him again a few weeks ago when we'd gone clubbing with the same friends. Interjection. He really trash talks Nicole for going out clubbing. He trash talks her for not going out clubbing when she was fresh after birth. And he's going out clubbing the entire time. Just saying. It was important to ask for her. I understand that I've lived in that entire LA vibe, and I kind of understand what's happening, and he's doing as much as she is here. I'm betting my life on it. More, much more. I think she's more conservative. And his reputation starts to get splashed because she's dating and she's showing off that she's maybe still got it, right? She's acting like, I still got it. She's 37 years old. And he's shaming her, saying you're dressed like a teenager. Okay. She was in love. I worked for a woman who's friends with Nicole. Really? Okay. Yes, sorry, no worries. I just can't repeat it. You can type it. I can't repeat it. That's all. Okay. So we're supposed to buy in this hypothetical that a guy he met twice before, just randomly clubbing, came by his house that night, knew where he lived, drove over, and told him all this crazy news while he's in a dark mood at this time. We're supposed to buy that. Drink the Kool-Aid if you want to. He gives you a path to do it. Now picture this. Here we go. And keep in mind, this is a hypothetical. Okay. And I want to get another video loading while we do this because I feel like we could be having this chase up while we read as well. That'd be fun. Okay, let's load it. 3 times instead of once. Apologies, guys. I need somebody else to be doing this so I can be your performer. Okay. Now, Charlie reached the gate, and the first thing I noticed is that he wasn't smiling. Our hypothetical Charlie shows up very serious. OJ, my man, what's up? He said. It sounded kind of forced. What's up with you? I said. I went over and opened the gate, and he stepped through. We shook hands. What brings you to these parts? Right? Doesn't even know this guy's been to his house and all. Not much. I was out to dinner with some guys down in Santa Monica. Thought I'd stop by to say hello. You've got a strange look on your face, Charlie. I said, something bothering you? Charlie looked away, avoiding my eyes. It's nothing, man, he said. Come on, I said. You can tell me. He looked back at me, struggling with his thoughts. You're not going to like it, he said finally. My stomach lurched again, and right away I knew. This is about Nicole, isn't it? Charlie nodded. What about her? You're not going to like it, he repeated. Just tell me, I said, already riled, before I get pissed off. Charlie took a step back, like he thought I might hit him or something. A couple of these guys at dinner tonight, I guess they didn't know you and I were friends. He began, tripping over his words. They started talking a little about taking a little trip. They started talking about a little trip they took to Cabo a few months back. In March, I think it was. And about these girls they partied with. Yeah? Charlie took a moment. It was Nicole and her friend Faye, he said. I'm listening, I said, and tried to stay calm, but I was fit to explode. There was a lot of drugs and a lot of drinking, and apparently things got pretty kinky. Why are you fucking telling me this, man? I hollered. I turned and had to fight the urge to put my fist through the Bentley window. I'm sorry, man. I thought you'd want to know. Well, I don't fucking want to know. I'm sick of hearing this shit. I'm sorry. That's the mother of my children. I know, man. I'm sorry. That's why I told you. I know you two have been through a lot of shit, and I know it can't be easy. So I thought maybe if you talked to her. Talked to her? What the fuck is wrong with you? I've been trying to talk with her for years. She won't listen. She won't listen to me. She won't listen to her family. She won't listen to her friends. OJ, man, I'm not the enemy here. I turned around, fuming, and tried to count to 10. I didn't make it. By the time I got to 3, I realized that Charlie was right. He wasn't the enemy. Nicole was the enemy. I looked at my watch. I had less than an hour before the limo showed up to take me to the airport. Just enough time to drive down to Bundy and read her the fucking riot act, and then get my ass back to the house. Come on, I said, and moved toward my Bronco. Where are we going? Just come. We're going to kill someone. Just come. Would you get in the car? I would not get in that car. No way. You'd have to kidnap me. I would not get in that car. If he pulled out his bang bang, I would be running the other way. You won't get me in a car that way either. Run fast, run in zigzags. Okay, that's what you do. You don't get in a car. That's how you die. We're going to scare the shit out of that girl, I said. Okay, anybody who said they'd get in the car who would still get in the car after he said that? Right? What now? It never fucking ends. Every time I turn around, it's something new, and none of it's pretty. This isn't a good idea, OJ. Fuck that, I said. I'm tired of being the understanding ex-husband. I have kids to think about. I'm asking you, man, please turn around. Okay, right. Maybe you shouldn't have gotten in the car, man. Okay, Charlie. Okay, hypothetical Charlie. Here we go. Yeah, that's what I wanted to play. Okay. You guys can watch that, not my freaking face. Whew, this is intense. It's intense. Okay. Woman's going to be the death of me, I said. I was seething at this time and began to mimic her. Have you seen someone when they're angry enough to mimic another person as though they're on a playground? That angry, contemptful mimicking? Maybe any of you who have been divorced will have your hand up right now. Okay. I began to mimic her. I want to grow as a person, OJ. I want to find myself. I'm tired of everyone seeing me as OJ Simpson's wife. I'm tired of living in your shadow. OJ, please. You want to know how crazy it got? I said, ignoring him. After the split, after she dumped me, she began calling to tell me about the guys she was dating. Oh, OJ, do you think they like me for me, or do they just want to get in my pants? And you know what I did? I told her to just have fun. I told her she was a great girl and not to worry and to go with her gut. Guys will be lining up around the block for you, I said. You're gorgeous and you're smart, and I know you'll pick the right guys. Is that twisted or what? And I would think, what the fuck are you doing, OJ? And then I would answer my own question. Well, the sooner she gets the finding herself shit out of her system, the sooner she'll be back. Okay. So he is telling you that he wants her to go find herself. He encourages her to go do it. Why? he asks himself, because once she does it, she'll get it out of the way, she'll return. So that's always the end goal. She'll return to him. Keep that in mind as we go forward. Okay. 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 Curious says, I think I have to go back a little bit. Let's just break and do some catch up. Okay. He has a distinctive, disgusting pattern when he tired of the women who loved him, as he treated them contemptibly disposable. Yes. His first wife, Marguerite, she was pregnant with their third child when they broke up. And the day they broke up was the day she told him she was pregnant with the third child. He said, I don't want this. I don't want to be with you. And he left and he went out to ask Nicole the same day to ask her out. Okay. This is the way he does it. And Nicole knew that's the way he does it because she was there the first time. So she ended up having this baked in fear later of kind of knowing his patterns and him trying to convince her every time, no, that's not what's happening. When she knew better, but he messed with her head, okay, over years because she was essentially still a kid at 18. Okay, and he was much older than she. Mama says, I understand you're not a fan of OJ, Pussycat. All good. We are agreeing them for the most part. We're just hashing out the details. Yeah, totally. Okay. Over in Laguna Niguel, that's Orange County, California, just south of LA. So this friend said to Mama, she told me one day she had a friend who had her throat. Okay. I was horrified. It opened a much broader conversation, but it has been a very long time. So it sounds like that friend turned out to be Nicole. Wow. Curious says, OJ lived a violent life of entitled psychopathic piece of shit with drastic, severe double standards while trashing a good man, a good woman, and man whoring. Okay. Drop the mic. All right. He drove her away with violence. I think that we do see that by his own words in his book. And then took her away from her family with further violence. Yeah. So damn sad. Yeah. Okay. We'll leave it on here and keep going. We're going to do the whole thing tonight. We're going to do that. Okay. I'm going to get past little details and descriptives that we already did. Whew. He's mocking her. He's mocking her. Straight back to your divorce, guys. Here we go. Open up your PTSD file if you have it. That's effed up, man. Why am I filtering myself now? I've been swearing. Okay, that's fucked up, man. Charlie said, tell me about it. I said. I glanced over at him and he looked scared. Relax, man. I said, I'm just going to talk to the girl and it'll be quick. I'm leaving for Chicago on the red eye. So OJ in this story had enough presence of mind to keep in mind his schedule. Get back before the limo gets there. Get back before anybody notices you're gone. He makes that clear the whole time. Also, if you're freaking out, do you have the presence of mind to really notice someone else's emotions, their state, whether or not they're scared? Or are you just totally in your own self-awareness? Because he is way too aware of Charlie's mindset for me. For a guy who is so red on the inside that he's about to kill. Okay. He's not there for me. It's weird to be like sensitive to Charlie's fear. He's using it as a vehicle in this story. Okay. So there was no Charlie. I feel freaking sure. I feel fucking sure about that. Okay. I shouldn't have told you, Charlie said. So let's keep in mind, what is Charlie the vehicle for? Okay. Why is he here and who's he replacing? It's a lot of theory. Well, let's just hold that spot holder and pay attention to when he talks about it. I'm leaving for Chicago on the red eye. All right, Chicago. All right. No, man, you did the right thing. That's exactly what I needed. Something to shake me up. This shit's been eating away at me forever. I've got to make it stop. I want to get on with my fucking life. I've got to get shit under control. You should let the lawyers handle it. Okay, now he tells them why the lawyers can't handle it. Fuck them. I'm going to take care of this myself. I already paid them a fortune. Right? Now he's arriving. He passes her house and he says, I kept going though. I took a right on Dorothy and an immediate right into the alley behind her condo. I feel when I read this, I feel like I'm with him sneaking, doing something wrong. Don't you kind of feel like that? It feels voyeuristic. And yet I feel the need to keep reading to like shed light, but the way I read it reads to me just feels wrong in my head. Okay. I want to reach out and grab him and scream. It's like being in a dream where you can't speak the thing you want to speak and stop someone and say no. And like being in a dream where you just like have a repetitive dream because you want it to end differently. Or is that just me? Never mind. If that's just me, don't put it in the comments below. But I have a feeling you'll have more in common with me than I think. All right. So they're getting up there. He drives past her house. Okay. He's like a predator. He's driving past her house into the alley. Like a predator. He is a fucking predator. I parked on the left near a chain link fence. There's grit in there, isn't there? I cut the engine and looked back toward the condo. It was so quiet, it kind of spooked me. I looked at Charlie again. He seemed pretty glum. Again, we have a description of Charlie's state of mind, like he would be fucking paying attention to Charlie's state of mind. That's absurd to me, this elusive, mythical Charlie, and he's thinking about Charlie's emotions. A guy he met twice. You wouldn't even been reading emotions on the guy's face, nor would this guy be here in this hypothetical. Okay, and tell me if you disagree. We've had pretty vocal people about that in the past, about why, but I want to know why you disagree. And if you think somebody else did it, like lay out for me why it's more likely that they did it. Like lay it out for me. And I'll listen. Okay, Mama says it's difficult for anyone with empathy and a sense of justice to hear this confession without having strong opinions. Yes, and it's hard to hear a confession and read it out loud, you guys. I'm reading it out loud to you. It feels very weird inside, but here we go. Like we're committed, so we're doing it. I'm just having the feels, all right? I'm just saying I have the feels. Okay. I reached, oh shit, what if she's with someone? She better not be, I said. Not with my kids in the house. I reached into the back seat for my blue wool cap and my gloves. I kept them there for the mornings when it was a bit nippy on the golf course. I slipped into them. What the fuck are you doing, man? Charlie said. You look like a burglar. Good, I said. I reached under the seat for my knife. It was a very nice knife, a limited collection, and I kept it on hand for the crazies. I think he is the crazy. If you think everyone else is crazy, it might be. Or maybe you're surrounded by crazies. Okay. So he's putting on a wool knit cap. He is acting like a typical street criminal. Okay. I've asked this question before. I will pose this question again. If you see someone, if you know without knowing who it is, you know somebody has just parked in the alley to hide and obscure their arrival. And they just put on a mask and hat and shit to avoid being seen, and they're creeping up to your door. What's your gut tell you right now about how that's going to go? Is there a good reason? There's no fucking good reason on the planet why anyone would ever do this, approach this way. It's never going to end well. Okay, you grab a knife. All right, I will lay out for you why I've asked this friend to come and tell us about why he thinks the oldest son, Jason, may have been involved. Because years and years later, now, all these years later, there was a storage facility owned by Jason. It was unpaid and repossessed. as happens with storage facilities, right? Inside was apparently, purportedly, a knife that fits the description of what they thought maybe the murder weapon would have been. Okay. So this is talk that keeps going around. I want more evidence for this. I want to know. And that doesn't tell me that the son did it. It only tells me that if it's the weapon that it was done with, that's where it was hidden. Maybe he had access to his son's thing. Maybe his son would do that for him, right? The favor goes both ways. Okay. Yeah. I think this story is important because of one person recognizes themselves in Nicole. Okay. One person can make a different choice. Because he's so, what's the word I'm looking for? Stereotypical. Okay. His abuse style is stereotypical, almost painfully so. I don't know why I stopped that. I got to take breaks reading this too. Ron's arriving. Okay. Los Angeles is full of crazies. Nice, huh? I said, showing the knife to Charlie. Check out that blade. He's showing off the damn knife. Okay. The one he's about to take in and scare the woman he loves with. A sharp blade while he's in. Like, who thinks that there's not nefarious intentions here? If it's you, you should ask somebody to be your buddy. Okay, you should hold hands. He's so intentionally diabolical here. Okay, put that shit back. Charlie snapped. You go in there and talk to the girl if you have to, but you're not taking a goddamn knife with you. He snatched it out of his hand. He snatched it out of my hand. Hissed. Okay, so I've had trouble with this the whole time. You snatch a knife out of someone's hand, you might get cut. Okay, you might get cut. What do? Grab the blade? I feel like he's not descriptive here. It's hard to picture. You've got to learn to relax, Charlie, I said, and then I opened the door, got out of my Bronco, and stole across the alley. Look at that wording. Stole across the alley. Can he get creepier? Can he get sleazier? Nicole's condo was one of 2 units. Both of them had long, narrow mirror images of each other, fused at the middle. They each had their own entry on Bundy, and each had a back gate in the alley, but Nicole's back gate was broken. The buzzer didn't work properly, and the gate opened if you gave it a little push. How do you know that? He broke it. Okay. That 911 call. I must have told her 1,000,000 times, please get the goddamn gate fixed, but the woman never listened. I slipped past the gate into the narrow courtyard and moved toward the front door. And right away, I noticed the lights flickering in the windows. I moved past the front door to take a closer look. There were candles burning inside, and I could hear faint music playing. It was obvious that Nicole was expecting company. I wondered who the fuck it was this time. I wondered if maybe Faye was coming over with some boy toys so that they could all get wild and dirty while my kids were sleeping upstairs. Just as I was beginning to get seriously steamed, the back gate squeaked open. He saw me and froze. He was young and good looking, with a thick head of black hair. Why isn't this playing? He's talking about Ron. And I tried to place him, but I had never seen him before. I didn't even know his name. Ron Goldman. He's so dismissively horrible about this guy that he just ended. Who the fuck are you? I said. I just came by to return a pair of glasses, he replied, stammering. Really? A pair of glasses, huh? He said. He was carrying an envelope. Judy left them at the restaurant. Judy left them at the restaurant. I'm a waiter at Mezzaluna. So it's Judy, is it? You're on a first-name basis with Judy? That moment, the gate behind Goldman squeaked again. Charlie walked into the narrow space. He was carrying the knife. Everything cool here? He asked. I saw this guy walking through the gate and I just wanted to make sure there wasn't going to be any trouble. This motherfucker wants me to believe that he's here dropping off a pair of Judy's glasses, I said. Look who's here. Hi, Pete. Hi, Pete. Say hi. Hi, Pete. Hello. We're reading, Pete. You can read with us. I am, Goldman said, apparently increasingly nervous. He held up an envelope. Look for yourself. And then what? I said, you were going back to the restaurant? No, he said, my shift's over. I'm just leaving these here and going home. You expect me to believe that. I don't expect anything, he said. I'm telling you the truth. You're a fucking liar, I shouted. I'm not, I swear to God. She's got candles burning inside. Fucking music playing. Probably a nice bottle of red wine breathing on the counter, waiting for you. Not for me, Goldman protested. Fuck you, man. You think I'm fucking stupid or something? God, he uses nothing but that word. Okay. A little variation would be nice. Not that I'm complaining. Because I don't really care. I'm not offended by it, but suddenly the front door opened. Nicole came outside. She was wearing a slinky cocktail dress, black, with probably not much on underneath. Her mouth fell open in shock. She looked at me, and she looked at Goldman, and she looked at Charlie, just beyond. Goldman was pretty well trapped. I stood between him, Charlie stood between him and the rear gate, and I was barring his way to the front door. OJ, what the fuck is going on? I turned to look at Nicole. That's what I want to know, I said. Cato, the dog, came wandering out of the house. Petey, don't nibble. He wants the book. Cato, the dog, came wandering out of the house. He saw me and wagged his tail. Then he saw Goldman, who also wagged his tail. I looked at Goldman, steamed, and Charlie moved closer, the knife still in his hand. I think he sensed that things were about to get out of control because I was very close to losing it. I'm listening, motherfucker, I said to Goldman. OJ, Nicole hollered. Leave him the fuck alone. What are you doing here anyway? I thought you were going to Chicago. Fuck you, I said. Hey, man, Goldman said. That's not necessary. Charlie piped in. Let's get the fuck out of here, OJ. I asked you a question, motherfucker. What are you doing here? You delivering drugs? Leave him alone, OJ, Nicole shouted. I hear half you assholes are dealing on the side, I said. Nicole came at me, swinging. Get the fuck out of here, she said. This is my house, and I can do what I want. Not in front of my kids, you can't. Fuck you. No, fuck you. I gave you everything you could ask for, and you fucked it all up. She came at me like a banshee, all arms and legs flailing. I ducked, and she lost her balance, and she fell against the stoop. She fell. Hey, guys, she fell. That's what even now, he can't fully admit what he's done, right? He can't even say it. He fell. You'll see him envisioning this in his mind. Because how could he not be haunted? Okay? I'm thinking he's very haunted. She fell hard on her right side. I could hear the back of her head hitting the ground. And she lay there for a moment, not moving. Jesus Christ, OJ, let's get the fuck out of here, Charlie said, his voice cracking. I looked over at Goldman, and I was fuming. I guess he thought I was going to hit him because he got into this little karate stance. What the fuck is that? I said. You think you can take me with your karate shit? He started circling, bobbing, and weaving, and if I hadn't been so fucking angry, I would have laughed. OJ, come on. It was Charlie again, pleading. Nicole moaned, regaining consciousness. She stirred on the ground and opened her eyes and looked at me, but it didn't seem like anything was registering. Charlie walked over and planted himself in front of me, blocking my view. We are fucking done here, man. Let's go. I noticed the knife in Charlie's hand and in one deft move, I removed my right glove and snatched it up. "We're not going anywhere," I said, turning to face Goldman. Goldman was still circling me, bobbing and weaving, but I didn't feel like laughing anymore. Could he be more of a villain at this point? "You think you're a tough motherfucker?" I said. I could hear Charlie just behind me, saying something, urging me to get the fuck out of there, and at one point he even reached for me and tried to drag me away. But I shook him off hard and moved toward Goldman. "Okay, motherfucker," I said, "show me how tough you are." Then something went horribly wrong. I don't know what happened, but I know what happened, but I can't tell you exactly how. I was still standing in Nicole's courtyard, of course, but for a few moments, I couldn't remember how I'd gotten there, when I'd arrived, or even why I was there. Then it came back to me very slowly. The recital was Sydney, up on stage, dancing her little heart out, chipping the balls out my neighbor's yard. Paula, angry, not answering the phone. Charlie, stopping by the house to tell me some more shit about Nicole's behavior. Then what? The short, quick drive from Rockingham to the Bundy condo. And now I was standing in Nicole's courtyard, in the dark, listening to the loud, rhythmic, accelerated beating of my own heart. I put my left hand to my heart, and my shirt felt strangely wet. I looked down at myself. For several moments, I couldn't get my head around what I was seeing. Pete, get off the book. You're interrupting this program. Starting to get sweaty and tense anyway. The front of me was covered in blood, but it didn't compute. Is this really blood? I wondered. And whose blood is it? Is it mine? Am I hurt? I wondered. I was more confused than ever. What the hell happened? Then I remembered the Goldman guy coming through the back gate with Judy's glasses, and I remembered hollering at him, and I remembered our shouts had brought Nicole to the door. Nicole, Jesus. I looked down and saw her on the ground in front of me, curled up in a fetal position at the base of the stairs, not moving. Goldman was only a few feet away, slumped against the bars of the fence. He wasn't moving either. Both he and Nicole were lying in giant pools of blood. I had never seen so much blood in my life. It didn't seem real. None of it computed. What the fuck happened here? Who had done this and why? And where the fuck was I when all this shit went down? It was like part of my life was missing, like there was some weird gap in my existence. But how could that be? I was standing right there. That was me, right? Guys, I think most of you have probably know he's describing dissociation. And I tend to believe him here because what he did is so fucking horrible. I think a person would probably dissociate unless they're a total psychopath, just a narcissistic guy giving way to rage might totally, you're very angry or very scared, these strong emotions, you don't encode memory the same way. Step up, Pete. So I think we're hearing a guy who did something so awful that he traumatized himself with his own actions. Okay. And that's it's very Primal Fear, right? That movie. Ed Norton. If you have not watched it, you got to watch it. It's a season for scary movies. It's a season. Happy fall, by the way. Okay, Nicole, Jesus. I looked down and saw her on the ground in front of me, curled up in the fetal position at the base of the stairs, not moving. Goldman was only a few feet away, slumped against the bars of the fence. He wasn't moving either. Both he and Nicole were lying in giant pools of blood. I had never seen so much blood. It didn't seem real. Okay. It was like part of my life was missing, like there was some weird gap in my existence. I looked again down at myself, at my blood-soaked clothes, and noticed the knife in my hand. The knife was covered in blood, as were my hand and wrist and half of my right forearm. That didn't compute either. I wondered how I had gotten blood all over my knife. He's wondering how he got blood on his precious knife. Okay. And I asked myself whose blood it might be. Then suddenly it all made perfect sense. This was just a bad dream. A very bad dream. Any moment now, I would wake up at home, in bed, and start going about my day. Then I heard a sound behind me and turned, startled. Charlie was standing in the shadows a few feet away, his mouth hanging open, his breath short and ragged. He was looking beyond me, at the bodies. Charlie, I called out. He didn't answer. Charlie, still nothing. I went over and stood in front of him and asked him the same question I just asked myself. Charlie, what the fuck happened here? He looked up and met my eyes, but for several moments, it was as if he didn't really see me. Are you listening to me? I said, I asked you what happened here. Fucking entitlement of this guy's behavior. Charlie shook his head from side to side, his mouth still hanging open, his breath still short and ragged, and in a voice that was no more than a frightened whisper, he said, Jesus, OJ, what have you done? Me? What the hell was he talking about? I hadn't done anything. I jumped at a sound behind me, a high-pitched, almost human wail. It was Cato, the dog, circling Nicole's body, his big paws leaving prints in the wet blood. He lifted his snout and let out another wail, and it sent chills up and down my spine. Let's get the fuck out of here, I said. I hurried toward the rear gate and moved through it with Charlie close behind, but I stopped myself before I crossed onto the alley. Charlie bumped into me and jumped back, startled. What? He said. I didn't answer. I was thinking about the shape I was in. This video is I watched this live. I was thinking of all the blood. My shirt and pants were sticking to my skin. Even my shoes were covered in blood. So he was starting to think about covering his tracks. That's why he's telling us. I need a break on my throat. This is great. We're almost there. And then I'm turning on the interview and get to see his words. Okay. If you guys are in here, we're reading If I Did It, Chapter 6 by OJ Simpson by his ghostwriter. Like and subscribe, please, to the content. Okay. Last night we did Diddy. Before that, Sarah Boone. We're following the Madeline Soto case. Okay. Like and subscribe for more true crime and more birds. All right. So next description is Charlie freaking out, okay, and OJ freaking out in this post-murder scene. All right, post-M scene. I turned and looked behind me beyond Charlie and saw a track of bloody telltale prints. I've got to get rid of these fucking clothes, I said. Without even thinking about it, I kicked off my shoes and began to strip. I took off my pants and shirt, dropped the knife and shoes into the center of the pile, and wrapped the whole thing into a tight bundle. I left my socks on them. I don't know why, but I didn't see any blood on them, so I had no reason to remove them. As I stood with the bundle grasped in my left hand, I realized that I'd left my keys and my wallet in my pants. I fell to a crouch and dug for them and noticed that my hands were shaking. Charlie stood there all the while, mumbling, Jesus Christ, OJ, Jesus Christ. He kept repeating himself, like he'd lost his goddamn mind or something. Will you shut the fuck up? I snapped. I found my keys and my wallet and rewrapped the bundle. Then I stood and hurried across the dark alley. Charlie followed, still mumbling. I got behind the wheel and Charlie climbed into the passenger seat. Jesus Christ, OJ, he said. Jesus Christ. Every time, my blood pressure, it's so high, you guys. I can feel it. Okay. All right, we're going to catch up on some comments. We're almost there. Okay. So OJ, when he's fleeing here, he also had his Passman and his Heisman Award in his Bronco and the missing keys to Nicole's house that she reported multiple times were missing. Why do you have the keys if the gate was broken? And the gate was broken. Always curious, evidence Some evidence is suppressed, and there's very, very, very particular rules of court and what can get in and what can't. And it's not just common sense, right? They're called rules of evidence. There's whole series and semesters and years of study for it for lawyers. And I know almost nothing about it. Nothing. So I won't even try. Jason was a teenager then. That's right. Thank you, Pussycat. Yeah. No, he was a teenage. He was at least a teenager when they met. Okay, so he would have been a young man. He had emotional problems. He had emotional regulation problems. And there's some evidence that he was friends with Nicole. So I don't know. Yeah, it's possible that the son hid it for him. It's possible that the son was there and the son is Charlie. If anything about Charlie exists, I think it would be, family, actual family, like an offspring. I think that's who this would be. It makes sense to me that I don't think the son did it because there's no motive except that he invited her to something and she didn't go that night because of recital. Okay, so I don't think there's a motive. I think that, maybe OJ, maybe he'd get in the car and go stop by to see Nicole and his siblings, and then he'd be there when this happened. That I can actually see happening. Okay, I really want to know what you guys think about this. Plus, he just did a Frogman movie with a knife expert. Okay, a Frogman movie. I don't know about that, but he had a pretty decent Hollywood career. He was doing those Naked Gun movies. Thanks, Pussycat. Far more likely to me that he might have helped hide it than actually helped to do it. I agree. And it's far more likely to me that he was there and helped hide it. And because he says Charlie took the knife and the clothes. Okay, right? So if something from that night was found in the storage unit, that to me would be a puzzle piece that would indicate, I don't know for sure, but it would indicate that maybe the son or somebody in that same kind of familial role, all right, was there that night, tried to stop him, things got out of control, and they hid the stuff. So being found in the son's storage, that is compelling to me. That is compelling. Okay. Adorable. Oh, thank you. Always curious. Petey, step up. Come say hello. Crime Conure is on the case. I really need a better slogan. Mama says, even with such jealousy, most people cannot commit such a crime without turning to serious self-medication, if you get my drift, even with training for a movie. Yeah. Yeah, it's like how do you stay composed? Okay. Because this also wasn't just about Nicole's life and ending it for his father, but Ron Goldman's too. Most people have a conscience that won't let them do such a thing. Yeah, I think a lot of people, even if they can justify raging at somebody who's close to them, who they have contempt for, right? Like we know just statistically in criminology, right? In crime statistics, we see that most victims of violent crimes, their perpetrators are known to them. They are family. They are partners. Okay, so we already know that. But most people who assault their partners are not necessarily a threat to the public, right? Domestic stuff, usually DV stuff, is a little different than the other kind. But this guy's straight gangster. He's done all their kinds of street crime up until now. It was premeditated. Okay, we're just gonna get through taking the evidence, and then that's it. All I'm gonna read. I'm gonna play the video. Fuck, this is too much. Okay, where are we? I left my socks on, though. I don't know why, but I didn't see any blood on them, so I had no reason to remove them. As I stood with the bundle grasped in my left hand, I realized that my left keys, blah, blah, blah. Okay. He went to remove them. Charlie stood there all the while mumbling. Will you shut the fuck up? Charlie recoiled, startled, and shut up. It's all caps, by the way. It's like a very aggressive writing. Okay. I just want to show you that, like, when I'm trying to read the affect of the book, it's like yelling at you. Charlie recoiled, startled, and shut up. I started the Bronco and pulled out, the tires squealing. I raced through the curved alley toward Montana Avenue. When I reached the end of the alley, I made a left onto Montana and an immediate right at the corner. For a guy who's in Pete's shock mode, he remembers exactly which order of streets he turned on. Okay. Thanks. Welcome, guys. Like and subscribe, please. We're covering a lot of in-depth OJ material and reading straight from his written confession. Okay. We are just post M word, and he is describing the getaway. This is very intense stuff, guys. There's a whole playlist. Check it out. We are also playing the footage in the background. And we're going to play his interview and his words. Okay. If you don't think my words match affect, you're going to hear this. So, more and more about it's a bad dream. I didn't wake up, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I drove past. I glanced at Charlie. He was hunched over, his elbows on his knees, his face buried in his hands. What happened back there, Charlie? I said. Charlie sat up. His cheeks were wet with tears. He shook his head from side to side and shrugged. I thought back to the horrific scene at the courtyard and to all the blood. I'd never seen so much blood in my life. It didn't seem possible. It didn't seem real. Charlie, I said. He still didn't answer. But what the hell? It wasn't really happening. That hadn't been me back then. I'd imagined the whole thing. I was imagining it then. It was in actual fact, I was home in bed, asleep, having one of those crazy crime of passion dreams. And I was going to wake up any second now. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I didn't wake up. We were still on Sunset. I passed the light on Burlingame and made a sharp right onto Rockingham, tearing up the winding hill toward the house. As I approached the gate, I saw a limo moving toward the Rockingham gate from Ashford Street and remembered I had a flight to catch. I pulled onto Ashford and kept going, taking a right on Bristol and parked in the shadows beyond the home of Eric Watts. But his property ran parallel to mine. There was another neighbor on Rockingham who was closer, but his property ran parallel to mine, and I couldn't get inside without running the risk of being spotted by the limo driver. I was going to have to steal onto my property through the Watts place, and I knew just how to do it. Okay, so this has been a topic of discussion. How did he get back in? How did he get back in? What did the limo driver see? And who did the limo driver see? Was it OJ or was it this Charlie guy or his son? Right? Was it Jason? Just speculating here. That's the point. We don't know. Almost 30 years later. We don't know. Oh, just lost my place. Got it. Okay. I pulled into Ashford and kept going. All right. Yeah, I got that. The bird is trying to eat my book, so I'm like running from him with the book. Charlie, are you listening to me? He stopped shaking his head for a moment and nodded once, and I began to tell him what I needed from him. I've got to get into my house, I said. You've got to wait here until I'm in the limo. Understand? When the limo's gone. Charlie looked away. Into the darkness beyond his own window, clearly not listening to me. I reached over and slammed his left shoulder into the seat hard. Then he whipped around to face me, more frightened than ever. So he's being violent with this guy too. And I think if somebody was there, the hypothetical Charlie, when he's in a rage, OJ's in a rage, right? He's just slit the throats of both Nicole and Ron. Why stop there? Who is the third guy? It's a witness. So it's another piece for me that says family. And the way this guy is reacting, breaking down into tears instead of fighting him, in any way. Another thing that says to me, family. Okay. So I'm thinking it's quite likely. The other theories I cannot buy. Okay. I've heard like a lot of them now because we've been doing this series. It's like, I think we're on like episode 7, at least 2 hours each. So this is a very deep dive. And we've talked about all these potential scenarios, right? And after hearing him reading it, these are the ones that are starting to kind of form. And I wonder if we'll ever know, right? Will we ever know? But let me spell it out for you. You better fucking pay attention. Are you paying attention? Charlie nodded. Say it, goddammit. I'm paying attention, Charlie stuttered. You guys can see Pete right now. Like, okay, he's got his beak on my hand and the book at the same time. Like, let me spell. I'm paying attention. I'm going to sneak back into my house. I'm going to take a shower and get dressed and grab my bags, and I'm going to get into that goddamn limo we passed. Did you see the limo? No, Charlie said. Well, there's a fucking limo parked in front of the Rockingham gate, and I'm supposed to be in it and on my way to the airport. A limo, Charlie repeated. His mouth was still hanging open, and I wasn't sure if any of this was really registering, but I didn't have a choice. Once I'm in that limo and it's gone, I need you to park the fucking Bronco in the driveway and then get into your car and take the fuck off. Do you understand? Charlie nodded. Here's the clicker. I'll open the gate. You can drop the key in the mailbox, but run out before the gate closes, okay? Okay, he said. I took the key out of the ignition and removed all the keys except the one for the Bronco. Then I set the bundle in his lap. I need you to take this and get rid of it, I said. Charlie looked down at the bundle, afraid to touch it. I don't give a fuck how you get rid of it, but make sure it disappears. You hear? It needs to disappear forever. Charlie nodded. Did you fucking hear me? I hollered. I heard you, Charlie said. I made him repeat everything I'd told him, word for word. Then I got out of the car and stole into the neighbor's property toward my house, my heart beating like crazy. I could feel it pounding in my ears. I moved past the tennis court to the little secret path that connected our two properties. Only a few friends knew about that path, and all of them were tennis players. They made use of it when I wasn't around to open the front gate for them. Within seconds, I was on my property. Moving past my own tennis court, I hung a left, pulled past the guest house, and all of which are tucked away and out of sight past the pool and toward the rear of the main house. Okay, so we have literally, the last couple episodes, we've read the part after this. The part where he returns, bumps into the AC, Kato comes out, all of that, that's all in the next episode. That's all in the last episodes, okay? So now, without more ado on this,
decision that the unhealthy cycle between her and OJ had to stop.
After the recap, which I kind of put together by mixing some media, and I did that on purpose, not to like, just steal stuff, okay, but because this is a time capsule, and I just don't know another way to show it to you, okay? So I kind of flipped some stuff around, put some writing on it, so that you could hear what was happening.
Nicole, now 35 years old, made a decision that the unhealthy cycle between her and OJ had to stop. On May 22nd, 3 weeks before her murder, Nicole returned an expensive birthday gift that OJ had given her, telling friends, "I broke up with him. I finally feel free. I told him I can't be bought." On June 10th, she went property hunting in Malibu, hoping to put some distance between herself and the man who wouldn't let her go. 2 days later, she would be dead. You are about to hear OJ Simpson talk about what he did on the day his ex-wife was murdered.
Let's talk about the day of June 12th.
Okay, we've watched most of this, so I am going to move us forward to that time we just read about in the book. I want to hear him say, we're going to hear him say it.
Has no control.
And this is like 25 years later when they released it, 12.
Feelings in you.
No, this is like
And
12
you
years
still
after
are
it
trying to
happened that it first airs, and they have this panel commenting.
deal with, I'm not going to be able to say this to this person. I'm never going to be able to change this person's mind. I'm never going to have an effect on this person again.
What did you say to her when you leaned over and kissed her?
I don't know if I said anything, to be honest with you. I'm told that that some person said they heard me say, I'm sorry. I just recall Judy Brown pulling me over, looking me in the eye and saying to me, OJ, did you have anything to do with this?
Talking
And I
about
know
her
I told her
funeral.
no.
Okay, so a lot to dig
People recall him saying, I'm sorry to her at her funeral.
in on that. One of the
Platforms.
most chilling things is he's so angry, talking about an incident that happened 7 months earlier. That 911 call is 7 months before the funeral. And he's reciting it as, I told you, didn't I?
Right. And he's saying, I'll no longer be able to affect this person or to change this person's mind. That's what he's saying as he's standing over his dead ex-wife's body.
The analysis,
He's not thinking about the brutal way she was killed, the suffering. All he's talking about is his anger and his inability to further control her. And when he says, you know, didn't I tell you, didn't I tell you, didn't I tell you I'd kill your ass if you didn't do what I told you to do?
It really sounded like he was saying that, right?
Yeah. Again, he blames her, and he's angry at her that he's still angry. And he
You guys, are you getting any sound? Somebody just messaged me and said they're not getting sound. So just want to make sure it's coming through right. Oh, shit. Where were we? Oh, no. Did anybody catch the time? We were just before this. Yeah.
Figured that's where we were at the time of her death. I loved her, but I wasn't in love with her, you know, and to some degree, I didn't really like her.
Don't feel sorry for me.
Honestly, that sounds like a lot of people after divorce, right? That is not so unusual after divorce. That by himself does not the villain make him.
I've had a great life, great friends. Please think of the real OJ and not this lost person. Thanks for making my life special. I hope I helped yours. Peace and love, OJ.
I want to talk about other things that you wrote in that note.
Yes,
if
okay.
we can. Please think of the real OJ and not this lost person.
Well, if I'm going to commit suicide, you are.
I have some language in here. Shoot, I should have blocked that. Sorry for that S word. But that's what that was. It was a note that he left when he got in that car with no regard for the effect he had on the who was the guy who was driving with him? AJ? AC, the football buddy. And no regard for anybody else's experience. He's very, 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 very selfish.
Certainly not a person who is together. You know, at that stage in my life, if I'm going to commit suicide, I am obviously, you know, not the person that I wanted people to know me to be, that I felt that I was.
So he's thinking about his legacy, his image. That is a classic narcissism, is I am this thing that is this image I have built, right? Not a fluid thing.
So, you know, I thought I'd always been a pretty good guy. I don't think any athlete had ever had the goodwill of the public that I had. And certainly no better than the goodwill that I had had. And in 3 short days, from Monday to Friday, or 4 short days, just listening to the TV screens, to see all of that goodwill evaporated, you know.
Did you feel lost?
In many ways, yeah, you know, it's almost like you were, Ron and Nicole were physically dead, and it's almost like they killed me. Who I was attacked and murdered also in that short period of time. And once again, I to this day, it bugs me that it seems that people wanted me to be guilty. That really bothers me.
By late afternoon, the search for OJ had made television history. Local stations deployed choppers to hunt for the white Bronco, and when they found it, the nation was transformed.
Hello, Gathering Voices. Just wanted to pause and welcome you. Thanks for being here. It's late. It's late. Thank you.
It's fixed.
Okay, great. Glad you guys can hear me.
This is a special report from ABC News.
Sorry to okay. So he was denied bail for a second time in the federal court. So he's now in the turtle suit, you know, and in really tough conditions. So it's just an interesting thing to bring back to right now. Like, there's going to be another huge high-profile trial.
And interrupting the NBA Finals.
We will send it to NBC News. Here's Tom Brokaw.
Thank you, Marv. We are looking once again at pictures of Al Cowling's car as it makes its way along a freeway in Los Angeles in the south central part of that area. And we are told by the California Highway Patrol that OJ Simpson is in that car holding a gun to his head.
100 million Americans, virtually half the country, were glued to their televisions.
The vehicle is registered to Al Cowling, a former teammate, close friend of OJ Simpson's, who is a fugitive from justice now.
For more than 2 hours, Al Cowlings navigated 75 miles of LA freeways with his old friend hunkered down in the back.
Driver of the Bronco indicates the subject is in the vehicle and he is armed and has a gun to his head. All units stay back.
I'm going to go back to the Bronco, and if you can just give me some of the details of what you said to each other and some of the...
Well, going there, it wasn't a lot of conversation, but basically it was just...
You had a gun?
Yeah, but it was in the bag in the back at that point with the pictures and stuff. The police like to say it was with a passport. I always had my passport there. They said I had $10,000. I think I had like $3 and something and change. As a matter of fact, when I was let out of jail, after my trial, and they were giving me all my things back, all the stuff that was in the Bronco that was mine back, I said, where's the $10,000? Where's my $10,000 that you guys claimed that I had, right? Which was totally false. In any event,
what are you thinking? You're in the car.
I'm in the back of still in the back of the truck, and I can't believe what I'm seeing, because every time we go by intersections, it was like, where did these people get the time to make these signs, go OJ and stuff? And what was strange is I was being depicted as a fugitive on the radio, but from the side of the roads, it was more people cheering.
OJ says what made him snap out of it and decide to bring the chase to a close was pride.
I just remember listening to the radio, which I think was Dan Rather. It really saved my life.
Right.
Because when he said that OJ had a history, police were at their house all the time, 8 or 9 times, that was the first time that week that I kind of woke up. Hey, man, listen to what they're saying about me. I say, hey, see, this is BS what they're doing here. Get me to my house, right? Take me home. And we immediately called.
So I hate to be too cliche here, but he is pretty cliche. He's a very good persona to study as a classic narcissist, right? Protect the persona at all costs. I don't just mean to jerk. I mean like somebody who will protect the persona at all costs, even at the cost of his own. First, he was going to think about ending himself because of his pride and legacy. And then he realized, well, that's not going to help. And that's the only reason he's still here.
All the police, the AC told them where we were going.
As AC pulled the Bronco and
cannoli. I mean, can you imagine the rush he got? Must have felt like running that football across the 50-yard line again. It must have felt like that to him.
To OJ's driveway at Rockingham, a standoff ensued as a police negotiator urged OJ to put down the gun and exit the vehicle with his hands up.
When we got to my house, I saw a sniper.
When they get to his house, his son runs to him, hysterical. Jason, just consider for a moment, like that might be the kid who was with him and witnessed all this, and his stepmother's murder.
On the roof, and I, you get defiant. They've been telling you this, they've been saying this stuff about you. I got defiant, so
He speaks in the royal you in first person. Every time he describes his own feelings, he puts them on someone else. You feel this way. He means he feels this way.
Wouldn't get out of the car. I was just mad until I saw my oldest son, Jason, run across the road. And somebody grabbed him. He said, "That's my father." And then I said, "Hey, I got to get out of this car. I don't want him to get injured."
The police now know where he is. We have found him. The door is opening, and let's see what happens now.
OJ Simpson is in custody. He has been transported here to Parker Center. He is being booked and processed. That'll include prints, mugshot.
He sounds very convincing when he talks about being suicidal and being desperate and being unhappy and wanting to
We're an hour and 45 minutes in. I hope you don't get shadow banned for these words.
end it.
Going.
And then when he gets to the part where he says,
I feel like I love replays. I watch replays all the time from people that I'm subscribed to, but I love the energy that comes from the moment. So I'm always like willing to kind of sacrifice, censoring myself. Maybe that's not responsible. Okay, I'm going to try to be better. We're getting there.
they killed me. What did you make of that?
He clearly was desperate. Physically and emotionally was going through that. I think he was intending to kill himself. But at the end, when he's
I'm not laughing at what the guy said. I'm laughing at the comment from Always Curious. Okay, sorry, that was bad timing to laugh. $10,000 that he was going to try to leave the country with, along with his passport. All innocent people keep a handy murder suspect disguise in their vehicle. Yeah, and a knife too, right? All innocent people do that, don't they? Woohoo! All right. I mean, okay, I'm not saying there's not a good reason to have something like that sometimes, or that it makes you crazy or a dangerous person. There are reasons, okay? But this situation, again, like we talked about that night, where's the line? Not sure, but we're definitely over it. Okay, right? We don't have to necessarily find the line to know we're over it.
talking about him, he's basically the victim here. It's people thinking bad thoughts about him, people not holding him up. That's what's devastating to him. He wasn't suicidal, I don't believe, because his ex-wife, the mother of his children, was murdered brutally. He wasn't suicidal because of that, but because his image was damaged.
He says he woke up.
So too.
Really, when he realized he was getting bad press in the form of Dan Rather laying out
The domestic violence.
domestic violence.
That what gets him mad is that people would think he's a wife beater.
I think he's a very complicated person. I think he's addicted to the limelight. And one of the things that I noted about his behavior at the time, halfway through the interview, he leaned over to me when we were taking a break and he said, "When you came here today, you didn't think you'd like me, but I changed your mind, didn't I?" And at no point did he ever acknowledge or really understand the gravity of his actions.
So the police take OJ downtown to be booked, put on suicide.
I think they're going to say the word again. I think that if he did this, most people, first of all, most people don't rage like that. But in a situation like this where there is DV and somebody's raging, I think that they would dissociate. I think that they would dissociate. But we also just got an interesting look at an expert psychologist in the Carly trial just today when there was just a few days ago, and today there was a verdict. We got an interesting look from that when this expert came in, and the state actually got the expert to say that people often fake dissociative psychological illnesses after committing murder. Okay, so all right, so that's another primal fear reference for you. Watch the movie, seriously. Okay, Curious is having strong feelings. All right, let's keep going.
Suicide watch. Listen to how he describes that experience.
What was jail like for you?
In the beginning, it was tough because I'm a talker. I'm a guy that spends his whole life socializing. And most people don't realize that I was in solitary confinement the full 17 months I was there. One of the sergeants would go out his way sometime to talk to me through the cell, but I had no one to talk to from
That'll
morning
make
to
you
night.
crazy.
What was that like?
In the beginning, obviously it was horrible. You are so at the mercy of your jailers. For instance, the first time I had to make an appearance in court, I looked so bad. I had no tie on, but what the public don't know is they woke me up every 15 minutes. They rattled my cell, turned on the lights. They alleged I was on suicide watch, but all night long, they woke me up.
It's my personal opinion that if you are not a sword, I don't even know how to phrase that for YouTube. It's my personal opinion that if you're not in a really dark place after this dehumanizing and removing from other humans, in this way, you will be. You will be. Right? It's so deteriorating for someone's mental health. That's actually, I think it's cruel and unusual to have isolation for that long. It's not any solution. Okay, more strong feelings. Sorry. We can keep going. And I'm not feeling for the guy. I'm just saying conceptually is where I stand on that.
I made sure I sat up in bed and looked at him. Now, you go through that all night long and see what you look like that day in court. And I looked horrible that day in court.
Mr. Simpson, do you understand the charges as I've read them to you?
Yes.
And have you discussed those charges with your lawyer, sir?
Yes.
At this time?
He does look horrible, but it's interesting that that's his kind of, again, that's his focus, is his image. And if this were happening today instead of 25 years ago, right, the language we'd hear him discussed with would be very different. It would be narcissist kind of language, because he's just classic. It's classic grandiose. Okay. Classic grandiose. In my opinion, that's what this all builds. Can't diagnose. Just my opinion.
Do you wish to enter a plea guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Apart from his arraignment, OJ would not be seen again until his trial began 6 months later.
You are looking at inmate number 4103970, OJ Simpson.
Up next, OJ's reaction to the trial of the century.
There's no way they can convict me of this.
Why he's still mad at Nicole.
I've cursed her. I've been to her gravesite, and why? What the hell?
And why he agreed to tell all.
There it comes. We're getting to the seedy part. I know it's
Tonight,
late.
you've heard.
I know it's late. We're all going to be insomniacs together. It's 9 o'clock PST, past midnight on the East Coast. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. It's awesome. We're all just going to let's slumber party together. I'll pull up my sleeping bag. Oh, but my teapot actually is bubbling. I hear it.
OJ Simpson tell us hypothetically what he says happened the night Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ronald Goldman were murdered. Next, he tells us what he really thought of the trial of the century and why he is still angry with his late ex-wife.
Are you ready to enter a plea at this time?
Yes, Your
How do you plead to counts 1 and 2?
Absolutely 100% not guilty.
The Los Angeles County District Attorney has just filed murder charges against Orenthal James O.J. Simpson.
For nearly a year, the so-called trial of the century was must-see TV.
There is an amazing, ravenous appetite for information about OJ Simpson.
In 1995, just 3 years after the LA
I was
riots,
talking. I was totally talking. I was like, why don't I see myself? But
debate over OJ's guilt or innocence divided America across racial lines.
These white people, excuse me, but that's the way I feel about this here situation, trying to set the brother up.
The prosecution was confident they had a slam dunk case.
I've never had a case with so much evidence in my entire life.
Traces of the victim's blood was found in Simpson's car and at his home.
And it's the kind of evidence that causes defendants to be convicted.
You guys thought you had a slam dunk case. Marcia Clark said, I have never tried a case with so much evidence. She sounded incredibly confident.
Contrary to what people might think, you know, we were seasoned veterans in the DA's office, and we understood that there's more to a trial than just the evidence. The first time I talked to Marcia Clark about this case, she said, I have all of this evidence. The only problem now is if I can get someone to believe it.
This case is a circus, and they've made it a circus.
The mostly African-American jury did not believe it. After Simpson's dream team of lawyers successfully took advantage of a series of police and prosecution missteps, including testimony about a key detective using a racial slur.
He said, the only good is a dead.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
It created reasonable doubt that O.J. Simpson had committed the murders.
All right, Mr. Simpson, would you please stand and face the jury?
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Ron Simpson, a human being as charged in count.
So 11 months of trial. Here's how O.J. describes to you, Judith, how he heard about the verdict.
What did you think of the verdict when the jury came back into the room?
I felt that if there's anything right with the universe, there's no way they can convict me of this, right? And we're not talking hypothetical yet. That's how I felt. There was a lot of talk that somebody who knew the verdict came to my cell and told me the night before, which is totally BS. Everybody that I came in contact with at the jail, which was run by the sheriff department, told me I was going home from the moment Mark Furman got off the stand. When Van Adder and Furman testified, all the guys at the jail said to me, whoever was watching me at the time said, you may have did it, you may not have did it, but you're going home. The minute the jury knows these cops are lying, and they're lying, they do not convict if they think a police officer's lying.
What was your reaction when you heard
I
the
told
verdict?
all the lawyers, I told all the lawyers, we met, and I said, I don't want any celebrating. And I told my mother that the night before, and my sisters. I don't want no celebrating because 2 people are still dead. And I don't want anybody celebrating if the verdict is positive towards me.
Most Americans continue to believe that O.J. Simpson got away with murder. But some still maintain that he is innocent, a victim of racist cops and the media. And even though he was acquitted in the criminal trial, O.J. didn't get off scot-free. In 1997, a jury found him liable for the double murders in a civil trial. He was ordered to pay the victims' families $33.5 million in damages.
The money is not the issue. It never has been. It's been making certain that one man, the man that murdered my son and Nicole, is held responsible by a court of law, and it's happened.
Do you feel that you've lived the life of a convicted man in many ways?
Thank God the public has not forced me to live that way. The media has tried, but the public hasn't.
So what's it been like?
It's curious that I go places and the public will come up to me, hug me, ask me how the kids are going.
You write in the book, I realized that, with respect to your children and telling your children, I realized that neither of them really understood what had happened to Nicole, let alone the long-term effects that her death would have on their lives. What long-term effect has it had?
Well, you know,
we're getting close to the end. I'm wondering when he's going to start spilling, because there's a moment here where he just starts crying and describing.
You may see it in, you know, I don't like talking about my kids. I got to make it clear that, and my kids have told me, Dad, you said you weren't going to talk about this, don't talk about this. But I will go so far as to say this. Sydney especially had enough time with her mother to establish a work ethic. You know, she was accepted in every college that she applied to. They both went to the schools of their choice. They're both in college. For what these kids have gone through, even if they hadn't gone through it, I can't imagine having two better kids.
Do you talk to them about their mother? And
that's something that my kids ask me not to discuss. It's nobody's business. And just to say that, you know, I feel totally loved by my kids. They know that they're very loved.
Sydney.
I'm just feeling really loved myself right now, so I just have to call out this comment. I'm sorry, I have to. Mama says, this is all like self-aggrandizing right now, but I just, you know, I want to show some love. Mama says, yes, please like and subscribe. There are new videos often, live videos often, unless court takes precedence for a short while in Jen's life. But her understanding of human behavior is pretty telling. That is so cool. Thank you. Thank you for feeling that way about me. It's really, I'm honored to be described that way and for you guys to take your time and spend it with me. I'm honored that we hang out together this way, and I feel like there's some value of the information we find and gather. Jen's knowledge of body language and psychology adds a whole other level. It does. I start noticing the littlest things, right? You know, how they're blinking and the direction they're looking, and oh no, shit, you know. Pussycat says, Pussycat said it, and I looked at it, and he was 23 or 24 when she was unalived. All right. And well, we have a lot to go through. It seems fairly likely, far more likely, Jen, that it could have been him or someone else family who could have done it. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Why does it feel like the comments are kind of like moving? Am I just that tired? Feels like the comment screen is moving. Now I'm back typing towards only the truth. Okay, cool. Here we are. And here we're back.
Simpson was only 9 when her mother was murdered on the front steps of their home at Bundy Drive. Her brother Justin was 6. They were asleep upstairs that night, and police woke them and took them out the back door so they didn't have to see the crime scene. We don't know what their relationship with their father is like today, but OJ says he has never tried to erase Nicole's memory.
Do you have a picture of Nicole at home on the wall?
Yeah. No, it's in the living room.
Yeah.
It's Nicole, me, and the kids. It was the last real group picture we took together. So it's right there prominent in my living room. And my kids keep pictures of her in their room.
Do you believe in heaven and hell?
Yes.
Do you believe that you're going to see Nicole someday?
Yes, I do.
You do?
And my mother, my dad, I surely do.
And what will you say to her?
Hey, you know, I haven't thought of that. I would hug her. She, you know, if there's a heaven, there's a hell. They know. I don't have to explain anything. They know. That's what heaven and hell is all about.
Do you ever talk to her in your mind?
No, I prayed to her. I've got on my knees and said to her, hey, look, I've cursed her. I've been to her gravesite, and why? What the hell? You know, look at these kids. Look at Sydney with no mother. You know, I've done that. I've done that.
That is what most domestic abuse partners do. They connect violence and love.
May I add something now that all makes sense? Because I remember during that time,
So, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to get back to that video. It's so funny. I have no idea what I'm doing right now. Let's see.
Him. He was sentenced to 33 years.
No!
But was paroled after only 9 and released last October.
I've basically spent a conflict-free life.
Mr. Simpson, I do vote to grant parole.
Thank you. Thank you.
How do you think you will be remembered?
You know, we talk in this book about hypotheticals. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, everybody is going to give their opinion. They're going to hypothesize what this book means. You know, he was guilty or he was purging his guilt. Whatever you want to take from it, I cannot control it. We cannot control what you think. My friends and family know that. So whichever reason why I did it, you decide. You read it, you decide.
Any thoughts?
You know, he thinks he's so clever, he's so manipulative, he's all of these things, but at the end of the day, he doesn't really manipulate anybody because who he is on full display.
Does hearing from OJ Simpson bring you any closure? Does that bring Denise any closure?
I don't think you can bring closure unless you can bring Nicole back. All I really care about is that Nicole gets a decent understanding here.
What would you like people to remember about Nicole Brown Simpson?
Just the sweetest, the most decent, the moral compass of a lot of us, an incredible mom. She was a really good person.
Thank you all for this conversation. I know it's been difficult. I know it's been really grueling, actually, but I appreciate all your insight. Today, OJ Simpson lives in Las Vegas and is a free man.
They're the ones that abandoned me.
But 12 years ago, as the intense interview wound down, OJ Simpson showed some regret.
Anything else? No.
Okay. No.
All right, good.
Yeah, I'm done. Guys, I tried my best here. I'm done. No, we've done what I need to do.
Okay. Is it hard? Do you feel like spent?
No, it's just that this portion here just, you know, I love that girl. Yeah, it hurts too. But hey, it's what it is. Oh.
You've listened to him for nearly 2 hours, and many of you may think you've heard a confession. But there will also be viewers who have always believed in OJ Simpson's innocence, and still do.
When are you? right. I am officially tired. And we've gone through it. We've gone through it all, and too tired to break it down any further tonight. But we did the chapter. And I think you heard most of the reactions, but there's a part, I think it's further back, that he describes that night similarly to how he describes it in the book. And I think that would be worth seeing next time. I think there's other things we can still explore. And then there is a chapter after that about his going into jail and how he got out of it. And so we're gonna kind of explore that. We'll finish that book. Finish it. In between other stuff, we got cases. If you know of a case that you think is really interesting, bring it to me. Ask me to consider it. I'll probably do it. We have that Bonnie case. I can't remember her full name, but it happened really fast, and she was convicted today on all counts, really fast. Some stuff happened with Sarah Boone that we need to be covering. She had a kind of important motion hearing, right, with two lawyers, a paralegal, and just the people around her. Life's really changed real fast for her, right? It's kind of maybe what she needed, and I'm kind of happy to see it. I think that's how it should be. So good, right? That's cool. So we're following that one, and we're following Madeline Soto. And those alone have been enough to keep me doing these, I feel like every night, but they're like every other night. Anyway. All right, I think that's it for now, because I am just falling asleep, and, it moved up the screen. What happened?
Nicole, now 35.
It's Nicole.
Yeah.
She said, I have all of this evidence. The only problem now is if I can get someone to believe it.
This case is a circus, and they've made it a circus.
The mostly African-American jury did not believe it after Simpson's dream team of lawyers successfully took advantage of a series of police and prosecution missteps, including testimony about a key detective using a racial slur.
He said, the only good is a dead.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
It created reasonable doubt that OJ Simpson had committed the murders.
All right, Mr. Simpson, would you please stand and face the jury?
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Ron Simpson, human being as charged in count.
So 11 months of trial. Here's how OJ describes to you, Judith, how he heard about the verdict.
What did you think of the verdict when the jury came back into the room?
I felt that if there's anything right with the universe, there's no way they can convict me of this, right? And we're not talking hypothetical yet. That's how I felt. There was a lot of talk that somebody who knew the verdict came to my cell and told me the night before, which is totally BS. Everybody that I came in contact with at the jail, which was run by the sheriff department, told me I was going home from the moment Mark Furman got off the stand. When Van Adder and Furman testified, all the guys at the jail said to me, whoever was watching me at the time said, you may have did it, you may not have did it, but you're going home. The minute the jury knows these cops are lying, and they're lying, they do not convict if they think a police officer's lying.
What was your reaction when you heard
I
the
told
verdict?
all the lawyers, we met, and I said, I don't want any celebrating. And I told my mother that the night before, and my sisters. I don't want no celebrating because two people are still dead. And I don't want anybody celebrating if the verdict is positive towards me.
Most Americans continue to believe that OJ Simpson got away with murder. But some still maintain that he is innocent, a victim of racist cops and the media. And even though he was acquitted in the criminal trial, OJ didn't get off scot-free. In 1997, a jury found him liable for the double murders in a civil trial. He was ordered to pay the victims' families $33.5 million in damages.
The money is not the issue. It never has been. It's been making certain that one man, the man that murdered my son and Nicole, is held responsible by a court of law, and it's happened.
Do you feel that you've lived the life of a convicted man in many ways?
Thank God the public has not forced me to live that way. The media has tried, but the public hasn't.
So what's it been like?
It's curious that I go places and the public will come up to me, hug me, ask me how the kids are going.
You write in the book, I realize that with respect to your children, telling your children, I realized that neither of them really understood what had happened to Nicole, let alone the long-term effects that her death would have on their lives. What long-term effect has it had?
Well, you know, I may see it in, you know, I don't like talking about my kids. I got to make it clear that, and my kids have told me, Dad, you said you weren't going to talk about us, don't talk about us. But I will go so far as to say this. Sydney especially had enough time with her mother to establish a work ethic. You know, she was accepted in every college that she applied to. They both went to the schools of their choice.
Not gonna lie, I'm snoozing over here. Boring.
Screaming at Nicole's grave.
Oh, jeez.
Just screaming at it. And the family said, well, call the police.
Did you know that?
No, no. I've never heard that before. You know, he's really revealed himself.
Within a year of that 2006 interview with Judith Regan, OJ was in trouble again.
This is the state of Nevada versus Orenthal James Simpson.
Arrested in Las Vegas for armed robbery and what he maintains was an ill-conceived plan to recover sports memorabilia that he claimed belonged to him. He was sentenced to 33 years in prison, but was paroled after only 9 and released last October.
I've basically spent a conflict-free life.
Mr. Simpson, I do vote to grant parole.
Thank you. Thank you.
How do you think you will be remembered?
You know, we talk in this book about hypotheticals. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, everybody is going to give their opinion. They're going to hypothesize what this book means. You know, he was guilty or he was purging his guilt. Whatever you want to take from it, I cannot control it. We cannot control what you think. My friends and family know that. So whichever reason why I did it, you decide. You read it, you decide.
Any thoughts?
You know, he thinks he's so clever, he's so manipulative, he's all of these things, but at the end of the day, he doesn't really manipulate anybody because who he is on full display.
Does hearing from OJ Simpson bring you any closure? Does that bring Denise any closure?
I don't think you can bring closure unless you can bring Nicole back. All I really care about is that Nicole gets a decent understanding here.
What would you like people to remember about Nicole Brown Simpson?
Just the sweetest, the most decent, the moral compass of a lot of us, an incredible mom. She was a really good person.
Thank you all for this conversation. I know it's been difficult. I know it's been really grueling, actually, but I appreciate all your insight. Today, OJ Simpson lives in Las Vegas and is a free man.
They're the ones that abandoned me.
But 12 years ago, as the intense interview wound down, OJ Simpson showed some regret.
Anything else? No.
Okay. No.
All right, good.
Yeah. I'm done. Guys, I tried my best here. I'm done. No, we've done what I need to do.
Okay. Is it hard? Do you feel like spent?
No, it's just that this portion there just, I love that girl. Yeah, it hurts too. But hey, it's what it is. Oh.
You've listened to him for nearly 2 hours, and many of you may think you've heard a confession. But there will also be viewers who have always believed in OJ Simpson's innocence, and still do.
Just making out with my bird over here. Good night. Good night from the screen. I'm huge. Thanks for being with us tonight. Is that the way to do it? Some of the apps make little hearts shoot out of my hands if I do it. Okay. Love from me. Love from Petey. Stay curious. Stay salty. Stay safe. And if you guys want to do it, there is further stuff we can get into with OJ. Of course, there's always further stuff. But we do have a new case. Diddy is actually right now, real fast. So probably be doing both. Still doing Sarah Boone, doing Maddie Soto. So if you have a case that you think is worth following, that you think I would find interesting, or there would be some, something different about it that we could learn from, let me know. I'll take a look. That's it for tonight. It's getting late and I am getting snuggly tired with birds. So, yeah, I'll see you soon. Hey, you guys, if you haven't yet, subscribe and like. I will put up some music for a few minutes, and that way you guys can chat amongst yourselves without it all just disappearing immediately. And then 5 minutes later, I will end the stream. Sound good?